We just got done book club Monday night reading chapters 8 and 10 of, just in case you forgot, When Helping Hurts. The theme was creating authentic connections within the community starts by addressing our own need for restoration, healing, and transformation. We took time to think and process who in our life played a role in helping our lives be changed for the better. I gave an example of how a friend of mine invited me to the gym. So I've never found an exercise plan to be, fun for a long time. And I've always wanted to find one, but often found myself getting discouraged as I tried various things. So this friend invited me, and that alone I thought was really sweet, because in this day and age, when you have your safe places, you want to keep them safe. But she was really kind to invite me, and as I went in there, other people were also inviting. I also got to see different views of what healthy and what strong looks like. With media these days, there's usually a type that people consider to be healthy and strong, and in the room, all these women showed different aspects of it, and it was really, really sweet. Not only was my viewpoint changed, but of course my body as well, but even more than that, I got to have deep relationships with women that I wouldn't have known otherwise if my friend invited me to her safe space. So she was able to hear a desire of my heart, invite me to her safe space. The people in that space were also just as inviting. And I find myself even going back, even when she's not there.
Awesome. Yeah, and I thought of an example from actually our webinar. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, click around on this page and find it. But one example that Erin shared was when someone is coming to help you move, you can have the type of person that comes in, assumes that they know everything and know where you want to put stuff or make suggestions. And then you have another person who comes and they're just like, hey, I have my hands and I'm willing to help. Just tell me how I can help you. And the difference of those two in the way that it makes you feel is drastically different. And so when we were talking about missions and mutuality in the webinar, he was saying that the second person is a better example of mutuality. And I think the same applies here when we're talking about triggers for positive change. It's really just us being available and saying, hey, I'm here, how can I help, what do you need, and not trying to trigger those things ourselves or assume that we know what's best for someone. So we also read a little excerpt from the book in page 207, if you guys are following along. And a quote from that says, a central feature of development is looking for opportunities to foster triggers for positive change. And it mentions 3 common triggers. So one of those is recent crisis. Number 2 is burden of status quo becoming so overwhelming that they want to pursue change. And then 3 is introduction of a new way of doing things that could improve their lives. And the book shares an example of a man who was going around door to door in a neighborhood. At first he was asking for money, and the person in the example was one of the neighbors who opened the door to him and said, I'm not going to give you money. Then the next time the guy came around, he said, I noticed that your leaves needed to be raked, and can I exchange, basically, can I rake your leaves for exchange for some money? And he was like, you know what, yeah, we can do that. And through different exchanges and interactions with this man, the whole neighborhood started to kind of rally around him and give him some jobs to do, and really just help him through this hard time. But it was a very mutually beneficial relationship and not just the handouts. And so the example was that the triggers for change in this man's life were one, just people offering things for him to be able to do, and him realizing like, okay, I need money, something needs to change. But then also the act of saying no when he first asked for money what actually triggered more positive change than if they had just given him money. So those were just some important examples and things to remember. We also read about there's 4 key principles. So the first one is looking for opportunities for the triggers. Number 2 is mobilize supportive people, and that's just people who want to help. So in this instance with the neighborhood, the neighbors kind of collaborated to be able to help this man. And then number 3, look for early recognizable success. So celebrate even the little wins that people are accomplishing. And number 4 is learn the context as you go. And this is one that I struggle with personally because I am a planner and I like to have everything in place before I enter into something. And the book encourages us to, yes, do our research, make sure we're not going in totally blind, but also it's okay to learn as you go and to make these relationships and conversations happen over time.
Yeah, so we also took time to do another activity, thinking through how can I help empower others to pursue change and transformation. So Kyle, who's leading our time, gave us really great space to think through just some key words of things we would like to perhaps see change within ourselves and how to find the right action to help that change basically take off. Bubbles. We wrote in some bubbles. This is Morgan's words, so we will not have you read those. But if you guys want to even just take time for yourself to think, if you're thinking of change and helping to be walking with somebody along with their change, definitely it's not an all about you situation, but making sure your perspective is also going to be helpful as we walk and move forward with someone.
So next we had a special guest, Scott Branson, join us from Renaissance Creations. And Renaissance is a nonprofit that they will do for-profit work to be able to kind of help fund their other projects, but their main goal is home restoration and selling homes at an affordable price to local people and really building the neighborhood. And so it's really encouraging to hear from Scott and the way that he is so passionate about his work. I actually met him through the coffee shop. We hired him to do some work for us here and learned his story and got to meet his team and was just really inspired with the way that he kind of bridges his work with his passion and some things that he encouraged us about. He said that he originally got started because of kind of some inspiration from a verse in Isaiah that encourages people to seek the peace of the city. And when he looked around, affordable housing was something that he thought, this is something that it's not bringing peace to the city when people are being forced out of their homes because they can't afford it, and that it's really doing a disservice to the neighborhoods because people who are committed to that neighborhood are having to leave. And so he talks about bringing dead houses back to life, and also he talks about being in neighborhoods where all the lights were turned off and it was kind of dark and dim, and part of their mission is to turn the lights back on. And I think it's really easy to see the correlation between the work that they're doing and the work of the gospel. And bringing dead houses back to life, turning the lights on is all connection to what we're called to do as Christians, and that's be a light to those around us and help to restore the people and things around us. He described having just like a very powerful connection to the homes themselves and how they represent just the life of the city and the life of the people who live in them. And so I thought that was a really cool perspective because his passion for these houses and for these people was just so evident, and was just a really great example for us to be a good neighbor. And they do their work slowly, they do it kind of under the radar, and it just was really cool to see this example as we were talking through these concepts.
Yeah, so thinking of takeaways, personally for me, was really thankful for the activity that we had done with Kyle, with the little bubbles that Morgan had showed. And we were hoping to come up with a mantra that I'm still working on right now. But however, the mantra for me goes along the lines of, in the midst of helping people, it's okay to slow down. I think I tend to do things relatively quickly thinking my worth is in completing something for others. But also realizing sometimes people don't feel love when you decide to work in just efficiency. Because when you focus on efficiency, you tend to miss the journey with somebody. And people's love language may not be acts of service or gifts. It's the togetherness, it's the quality of time. And that's where the bond really forms in the journey more than the end goal. So I think for myself, learning how to slow down and trusting the process, and even though the goal has been reached, the bond can continue to grow in trust through whatever journey that you choose to take with somebody.
Yeah, definitely. Kyle had shared his mantra with us. It's every moment has the potential to be transformative. And he said he just enters conversations and kind of any interaction that way. Scott also shared his is start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So just starting small, you don't have to have, any kind of fancy anything. Just use what's right in front of you and what the Lord calls you to. I'm still working on mine, but I think one of my major takeaways from this meeting was that we were just talking about transformation in relationships in general. We weren't really differentiating between the materially poor or like ways that we're different. And it really just inspired me to think about every person in the same way. My interactions with someone in a boardroom versus on the sidewalk yes, there's some context, but I should be treating people the same way no matter their material financial status or anything like that. And so it was really cool to view all of these concepts just as a person-to-person interaction and not have this differentiation of like how someone is different from me. Really, we're all different from each other, and we're all figuring it out together, and we're all growing and learning. And so at the end of the day, being a part of positive change and transformation, whether it's an individual or a house or a city or however God calls us to work, that's the true work, and the true thing that we're called to as Christians and as friends is just to lift each other up. So that was pretty much all the takeaways for now.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us in this journey. And again, if you're not caught up, it's okay. But taking time to reflect on what is it like to not just in the Mr. Rogers way of how to love your neighbor, but it goes beyond that. Love is a continual thing, and hope you guys take time to reflect for yourselves and what it looks like to be a part of somebody's journey and whatever your gifts are.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. See you
Next
some
time.
point.